in Virginia, it seems like these days, right? So, but you got to make the best of it.
Well, I mean, that just means it's another opportunity to sit down with a
That's
café
right.
con leche. And
Get inside, drink a little café con leche, cold, whatever.
Exactly. And watch some Today Mañana. So
listen to at least too.
Watch.
Right now, they're only listening, right? See, I know.
Right now, it's true. Right now, they're only listening.
I know how this works. You can't trick me.
The camera is true. The camera is not yet on us. So they are just listening this morning. But be sure to like and share. We're going to be joined shortly on the show by John Anderson, the owner, and Susan Benshoff, the manager of Luna Azul Farms.
I love that name, Luna Azul. I got to ask how they came about with that name.
Should I translate it yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, all right. So I'll leave it as a surprise for our viewers. I mean, our Latino viewers already know.
I was going to say, I think most people probably know.
What that means. But for the rest of our viewers, if you don't speak Spanish, we'll save that bit for a little bit. That's that revelation. So we got a lot going on today. Later on in the show, Dave and I will talk about the Amplify Your Voice conference coming up.
That's right. Tomorrow. Exactly.
As well as a little finance segment.
Yeah. We haven't done that in a few weeks.
We've had
nice to catch up, see what's going on in the world.
Last couple of weeks, so to catch up on how things are going and sort of talk a little bit about what people can expect from the economy, interest rates, Federal Reserve, investments.
Because we know.
Because we have those crystal balls.
Absolutely.
We at least pretend to know. You can always guarantee that Xavier and I will tell you what we don't know.
There you are.
So there we go. You can be guaranteed for that one, to be sure. So a lot going on that we are excited to share with you this morning. Like I said, be sure to send us any questions, comments, like and share.
Like and share. I like the way you said that. That's 2 times. Very good.
We are streaming to lots of different places. We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. You can watch us later on today on Instagram, LinkedIn, Apple Podcast.
We'll see if New York and Montana are watching today or listening.
We've had viewers from as far as Italy.
Spain, Italy, that's right.
Spain, so
Puerto Rico, that's right.
We have had.
That's right.
And then once, there was one viewer who was from, remember he was watching us, it was one of the musicians we had on, he was watching us all the way from Nigeria.
Wow.
He was watching us all the way from Nigeria. So that's, we have an international reach here on the Today y Mañana show on the I Love Seville network. So a lot to look forward to this morning, to be sure.
No, this is going to be good. I'm really looking forward to speaking to John and Susan about, the Luna Azul Farms.
No, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. It's going to be a blast.
How it came about and what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us on this morning on a bit of a cloudy morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia, but that just makes it a better morning to
be indoors.
Get your café con leche, and enjoy some Today
Mañana. That's right. Which we got a wonderful show lined up today.
We do. We have a fantastic show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined very shortly by John Anderson, the owner, and Susan Benshoff, the manager of Luna Azul Farms, are going to be joining us. And then later on, we will talk about the Amplify Your Voice conference.
Correct.
And then a little bit of finance topic on a number of things I think we'll touch on this morning, because we haven't had a finance segment in a few weeks now. So
a few thoughts, a few ideas,
picking Xavier's brain for a little bit.
Well, I read an article that I just want to share, and I just thought it was an interesting article.
Well, we'll get all your
just one article, of course.
We'll get all your prognostications this way in 3 weeks.
No, I don't do that anymore, because
in 3 weeks I can have Nicholas on, and he can say all the ways that Xavier was wrong. So there you
That's
go.
what I mean. Yeah.
He'll love that. We'll give him some topics for October that he can talk about. So we got a lot going on already. Got some viewers. Lee Albertson says he loves seeing the Earpies in action. Thank you, Lee. He's a great Claiborne Education. He's a great tutoring company here, entrepreneur here in Charlottesville. A great member of the Community Investment Collaborative Board. So he's our chair emeritus.
Okay.
So thank you for watching this morning, Lee. So we got a lot in store. Always love being here on the I Love Seville network. Always love being presented, of course, by Emergent Financial Services and partnering with our good friends at the Gym Seville, at Castle Hill Cider, Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, our good friends Miguel and Chick at Craddock Sirius Insurance, Johan Torres at GBS Financial Services, and of course we're always partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I don't know about you, but I am ready.
You're
to
ready
jump
to go.
right into it today. I'm
So am I.
excited
So
to
am I.
talk to our fantastic set of guests here. So we are thrilled to welcome to the show this morning John Anderson. He is the owner, and Susan Benchoff, the manager at Luna Azul Farms. John, Susan, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank
No,
you.
it's
Maybe I should say buenos dias. I mean, Luna Azul.
Buenos
right?
dias. Well, so for those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about yourselves. I mean, John, I guess you could start how you came to own, and then Susan, how you came to work with John and manage Luna Azul Farms, as well as a little bit about how you picked the name.
Yeah.
Well, I guess back during COVID, we were bored and we were out riding around just looking at property, and eventually we saw this one. It was a little farther away than I wanted to be from what I'd been thinking of moving to, but the long driveway and the dam you get to drive across as the driveway, and there's the lake, of course, and as we went back and looked at it a couple more times, you could see the moon was always reflecting off the lake when you drove in. That's kind of one of the reasons for the name. And
So the reflection of the lake was making the moon look a particular color, like the blue, and so then you translated that into Luna Azul. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'd been talking about a farm for John for a while, and as we traveled, because we travel a bit, I was keeping a running list of notes of possible names.
Okay.
If we get a farm, what can we name it? And that was one of them, and it just fit with the
Yeah.
lake and the moon and the water, and yes.
It's a beautiful name. I mean, I just love it. So I was just saying, how did that come about? But that's perfect. That's perfect.
So you were searching for a farm, came across this one, and now I mean, it's a beautiful location, and I see a lot of music happens there. So I'm curious, how did you sort of say, all right, how do I go from this farm to a place where we want to host musicians and have musical events?
Well, the farm, it still has a 5-bay stall horse barn, and at first I guess we were thinking about housing horses, boarding horses, and then
That's a lot of work.
the COVID thing happened, and places were the local bars and event spaces were closing down. So we decided to just have music there and just kind of support the local bands, and
Which is really fantastic. I mean, that's, especially in the middle of the pandemic, they were some of the first. We've had some of the musicians on to Today Mañana,
Exactly.
2021, and they always talk about how the places to play kind of became much more difficult because you can't go play in a packed bar anymore, and so it was sort of the incentive to give them a space where they could do that, and people would feel good about coming and seeing them in the outdoors.
A lot of the music has moved to breweries and wineries, and that's great. I mean, I love the wineries, I love the breweries, I like what they do here. But when you go there, you're buying their wine, their food. We're setting up an opportunity for the community to come and share our space. We set it up like a backyard picnic. It's a BYO everything. And the money goes to the musicians. They're the ones that lost the income.
That's a good point.
I found myself going to a winery brewery, dropping $100 and then giving like $5 to the band. I'd rather give my money to the band and bring what I have from home. Eat what I want to eat, drink what I want to drink, and let's support our local musicians. We have a lot of musician friends. We haven't quite figured out how to branch out with the bands. We're looking right now for bands that have a following, because we don't have a built-in following. We don't have anything that we're selling. So the bands can bring their crowd there, and we have a great time. It's outdoor, it's dog friendly, it's kid friendly, it's great for social distancing. We have a good 5-acre field to just spread out in.
So basically, let's have a picnic and at the same time listen to some music. It reminds me of when I was one time in New York, they were, I think this was for the 4th of July, they had the 1812 Overture at Central Park.
Right.
And my wife and I, we did that. She cooked this wonderful picnic. I didn't do anything. She just brought it all. And we sat there and, we listened to I guess in that case it was a symphony playing the 1812 Overture, but it was delightful because you were outside enjoying, the fresh air and just listening. And so this is kind of the same thing. You bring your own, your own food, your own picnic, and just, listen to some good music. Right?
Right.
Exactly.
And
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is this like on weekends, during the week? When does this happen most?
Mostly on the weekends. Right now, we don't want to compete with Fridays after 5. One, we love to go there. There's a lot of competition for music in this town right now. There are so many things going on every single day of the week. We've been doing Saturdays and Sunday evenings through the fall. All depends on the weather. We don't have a regular schedule because it's work, and we both have full-time jobs.
Okay.
So coming up, we have Saturday the 10th, a band out of Richmond called the Taters. On the 11th, we have Mama Tried, which is a local band from Charlottesville. September 17th is a Saturday. We have the Cows, which is also local from Charlottesville.
Cows?
The Cows.
Okay.
Long-standing band here in Charlottesville. Then in October, on the 15th, we have a band out of Richmond called Diamond Heist, which is a Neil Diamond cover band, and they are a blast.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
On Sunday, we have the Gladstones. So, and that's it. I think we're trying to do 10, 15 shows a year. We're open to anything, but the main thing is we have to watch out for what other competition we don't want to take away. And we're just building as we go, so we're kind of open for next year to what we do.
Absolutely.
And where's the farm located exactly? Kind of.
In Troy, downtown Troy.
Oh, okay. Downtown Troy.
Zion's Crossroads too.
Okay.
So it's it's what, 15 minutes from Pantops, 5 minutes from Zion's Crossroads, right off of 250, right near the women's prison.
Okay. All right.
Also, very easy to find. It's a beautiful space. On the website, there's all the fantastic images, like especially around sunset.
Oh yeah.
So that sunset hour must be just incredible to come and see a band and sort of enjoy the beauty of seeing it in a natural landscape. Yeah. With a simple event barn and so forth. So it's got to be fantastic. I have to say, just a little thing. I don't know whose idea it was to have the learn more button on the website be more cowbell. Which for those of you, that's a Saturday Night Live reference from an old skit that I'm a very big fan of. So whoever's idea that was, that's a big kudos to you that the Learn More button is more cowbell. That's just fantastic. Shout out Bridget Bautista. Thanks for watching the show this morning. So, a lot of people really enjoying the topic that we have here. So I'm curious. What have you found for people who have come to the events and just enjoyed it? What are some of the unique aspects you think of having, an event that if you're a band playing out there, or if you're someone going to see a band being out there and enjoying it at Luna Azul?
Unique. I really like seeing the bands with the natural barn doors behind them. Some of the bands just looks like, wow, this is the perfect band for here, playing up under the eaves of the horse barn. I love sitting out in the field and the openness. I love seeing the kids running around when they come to hear. People have set up tables with buffets that are fun to see the creativity and the food they bring. We had a benefit back in April for a Richmond musician, Brooke Saunders, who had passed last Thanksgiving. So there was 10 bands out there during the day, and this couple showed up with a truckload of adult, I call them toys. There was a large wooden hamster wheel, a teeter-totter, a giant hula hoop, and just seeing everybody, engage out in the field with that. We've asked him to come back again. So just the outdoors, the engagement, the relaxation is what I like best about it.
Now, how far, obviously this is great for summer, fall. At what point do you think the weather becomes difficult to have this?
We stopped mid-October this year mainly because I'm starting to travel again and I'm very busy. and other things that are going on, other people's events or parties that we don't want to conflict with. But I'm game if there's a nice day
Yeah.
in November.
I was gonna
and
say.
nobody's busy and a band calls up and says, hey, we want to play, we've got a crowd, I don't mind setting
exactly,
up.
yeah.
Probably easier than we don't have to cut the grass in November. So
There you go.
we skipped July and August this year mostly because it was so hot.
The heat,
Yeah.
really.
And John's the one that has to cut the grass, and it's, 10, 15 acres, and so it's a little
And
exhausting.
with all that rain, you must have been cutting it every week.
Yeah.
And we would have had to cancel if we'd had anything then because of the rain.
Yeah.
So. But even with the rain, Reverend Billy played mid-July. It started raining before he began, and then it rained intermittently through. We all just gathered up under the eaves of the barn and in the various bays, and it was like this little house party, and it was really fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun. That does. So maybe this, I don't know if this is a question for John. So Kevin Higgins, thanks for watching the show this morning. He asked the audience question. How do you sort of connect? Have you been able to connect with some of the neighbors in that area? I know they could be far away to sort of connect them to the mission and so forth.
Yes.
Yeah. There's probably over a dozen neighbors, and we've put out an invitation to them, of course, and we're still trying to get the guy up the street that has a pizza oven to come down.
Bring the pizza oven if you can.
Right, but he's very busy with his food truck. We have a couple of neighbors that come and support us at every single event, and they're so excited that there's something, and we hear this from people, hey, I just found out you were down the street, I can walk there. And so they come and they
awesome.
hang out, and it's easy, they don't have to come into town or drive anywhere, so it's been great, they really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great opportunity, I think, for the people that live out in that direction. Because sometimes, if you live, you want to live out to enjoy the beauty of nature. But of course, the closer you are to nature, the further you are from things that happen in the middle of town. So it's nice to have opportunities to say, all right, I'd love some music, but I don't feel like necessarily driving half an hour today.
Right.
Oh, it's right there. It's like it's something. Plus, if you've moved out to enjoy nature, you still get to be among nature and enjoy the music. You don't have to go to an urban setting just to enjoy some great bands.
And what's nice is the way the barn is set up, the music shoots out into the woods. So it doesn't, I've had people sit on the street and they say they don't hear the music out there, so it doesn't disturb the neighbors on the road.
Oh, that's
Which is
terrific.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah. No, and I think that's and as Susan said, the beauty is that you pack up whatever you want from your house.
Right.
You just go over there and you just enjoy it with some good music, right? So it's not like Susan said, you go there, it's like, okay, now I know I got to spend this on food, this on drinks, and before you know it, you say, is it, especially in today's world, is it within the budget, right? Given all this inflation, is it within the budget? Well, this is within the budget because it's whatever you have in the house, so just bring it with you. Yeah.
And a donation for the band.
Exactly.
And
Of course.
that's the beautiful part. Like, if you're going there to see a band, you don't have to feel pressured like, I can't support the band because I spent $100
That's
on wine and food. Like, you can sit there and say, all right, if I would have spent $100 at a winery today, and instead I spent $20 on my own food that I brought, I can give $80 to the
Exactly.
band.
Absolutely.
I can support them so that they can continue to do what they do, because that's how a lot of especially the local bands survive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Kevin Higgins, says, neighbors helping neighbors, everything is going to be just fine. So amen. And Nicholas says, Nicholas Irby, thanks for watching, says amen to that. Amen to that, that's for sure. So our audience always loves kind of sometimes the ins and outs of what it's like to actually run. To be an entrepreneur. You both, I know it's funny, you laughed when I first said it, but you're both entrepreneurs. In
Yes,
a
we
sense,
are.
because you can be, I think sometimes people have this notion of entrepreneur, like you have to be just doing it for profit. But I said, in reality, an entrepreneur is someone who, we've talked about before, an entrepreneur is someone who provides value, who combines things in a certain way, right? In this case, the music of bands, a space that you have, a natural outlook, cutting the grass, ready to go, who combines things in a certain way and adds value to people. And so, I'm curious, what's it like? I mean, what were some of the challenges and opportunities you faced? What's it like running this operation, doing things, some of the day-to-day? What, if anything, you've learned or that you'd love to share, advice for people who maybe have missions like this that they'd want to pursue?
I don't have a lot of advice. I mean, it's hard work. So it's easy to find the bands. There's plenty of them. but getting the crowds to come, enough of a crowd to support the band. We had one band come out where only 7 people showed up. So that, it's frustrating, it's disappointing. It's disappointing for us, it's disappointing for the band. So really building the audience, building the crowd, that's the hard part. The social media, maintaining the social media. As far as the cowbell, I have a friend, Dave Hootert, who lives in Sweden, that jazzed up my website for me. So thank you, Dave, if you're listening.
Thank you, Dave. I love that.
So, you know, really the marketing, the advertising, getting the word out to people. We're constantly handing out business cards, handing out stickers. People love a sticker. That's the hard part. Maintaining it, keeping it. We had to build the stage. I mean, that was hard work. John and I did that manually, mainly John.
Wow.
You know, building it up, flattening it out, leveling it out, making it even. Now we're trying to level out an area for a dance floor, figuring out where we want to go in the future. How do we want to expand? How do we build on this each year? Keeping the grass cut. It's,
No, without any doubt. I mean, you know,
You were gonna say
anytime.
something,
Oh, no,
John?
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, keeping the grass cut is, you know, I'm used to, we have lots of rental property in Crozet, but this is like one big thing where you have to go around 40 acres, and I'm just talking about cutting on both sides of the fence and around the little areas you're using. It's like, it's a couple of days of mowing the rod mower.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's a lot of work, no doubt about it. You know.
It is.
I mean, I started this during COVID when I was furloughed and semi-retired from work, and I'm back to work full-time now, and I want to maintain this. But we had this grandiose idea that we would be farmers, and we applied for a grower's license, and we grew hemp the first year. And we didn't have all the fancy tractors and plows. I mean, literally, we broadcast seed over 5 acres by hand. And then harvesting, we didn't have it. It was hard work, and it's like when they called me to come back to work at the end of November, they said, "Would you like to come back?" It's like, yay, a desk job! You know, I was so excited. I didn't have to work on a farm. You know, I love it. I love being out there. I like just the general exercise and moving around, but it's work. I want to sit down and enjoy the bands, but I'm watching the door. We're parking cars. We're you know, doing that. So.
It's all the little things, I think, that go behind being an entrepreneur. I think people sometimes before you start, there's always the temptation to be like, all right, well, what I will do is get the bands, set them up, poof,
Done.
And then there's all the little things that you have to do behind the scenes.
Right.
That people need to appreciate, that entrepreneurs like you do, that to make this work. Like, there's a lot that goes on back there, so that when you go there and you see the band on stage, you are getting that enjoyable experience. There's a lot that goes into it, and even having the farms. I know that it can be tempting. I remember there's a movie about like the life of Beatrix Potter that my mother loves, and every time you watch this movie, right, you just sit there and say, wouldn't it be so lovely? She's got this beautiful little touch. She buys a farm. She bought tons of farmland in England to preserve it. And, you know, she buys the farmland. Oh, it's a beautiful little cottage. She goes for a little walk, sees the pigs in their little pen, sees the chickens, sees the flowers. Right, wouldn't that be lovely? But then you have to sit there and think, but wait, then
who's taking care of the chickens?
Yeah, who
Who's
feeds the chickens? Who cleans the pigs? Who plants the seed? Who gets the... There's so much work that actually goes to make beautiful things, but in the end, it's worth it because of the joy that you said, the joy that you derive.
That's right.
From being from doing something that you're passionate about doing.
And what I was going to say is before is, you know, one of the things is when you first start, you don't have a following, but word of mouth, and then without any doubt, I mean, today's world, social media just is so critical to literally any business, because the more you put out there, the more people learn about it, and then it just expands. So, I mean, how many years have you been, you know, has Luna Sul been?
Just
two. So it, you know, little by little, that just expands, and sometimes it expands exponentially. Before you know it, maybe in about 3 or 4 years, like, whoa, where are we going to put all these people?
Well, we have to develop a little patience. John's like, why isn't it happening now? But we
Takes
do,
time.
we build each one.
Right.
I think the largest crowd we've had is at 100. And with the county, I think as a backyard party, we can go to 200.
Yeah.
And if we exceed that, then we need to look into becoming something different.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I want to be anything different. I like what we are.
I mean, you think 100 people, you put them into a room, it's packed. You say, oh my God, this is packed. You put them into a farm, it just looks like, like ants. It's like, well, there's nobody here. But that's 100 people. It's not easy to get to an event. So if you're getting 100 and you're, aiming at 200, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as that's concerned.
When you said the crowd, we have a friend who brought a drone down and took some pictures, and while we thought we were crowded, when he took the pictures from the air, it was like, oh, is that it? It was just this little teeny thing.
A couple little tents.
Roots to grow. Look at that. We have plenty of growth there, which really is, I think, that's a good, point you make there, because I think there's a temptation sometimes that we want to grow fast, quickly, but you can hit that, sometimes those first few years, I mean, we've had this from our experience, right, as an entrepreneur, there's that kind of slow growth, and then you hit the critical mass, and then you have the growth phase, and it's boom, 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 boom. We've had on, Jeff from Aquasivo talks about it, how
right.
like, for a while, you're just like, oh, I have time to do this, I have time to do that, right, and then suddenly, the growth phase happens, like, oh boy, here we go. So it's a beautiful thing. It's just the patience, I think, is a great advice for people to have. Like, it's okay to want to grow quickly, but to recognize that patience is needed, and especially in those early phases of being an entrepreneur.
And there's growing pains, right? In other words, in every business, as you grow, you learn more, right? So if you go from A to Z, all of a sudden you realize there's just a lot of things that I'm doing wrong, and it could collapse quickly, right? So if you sometimes growing slowly is the best thing, because you're growing with it and say, wait a minute, I didn't do that right, but it didn't impact because we didn't have that many people, that many clients. You fix it, and now you're ready for the next the next growth pattern. So it'll come, but I think it's if you guys are doing just great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great work. Now, quick question. So if people want to come, is this something where you register to come? Is it like come when you want? Do they go to the website and click something?
I wish we did the register, then we'd know how many were coming, but no, it's just show on up.
Oh, okay.
We collect donations at the door. Bring your tents, your tables, your chairs, your kids, your dogs, your friends, whatever you want to eat and drink.
Especially your friends.
And your friends,
Especially
right?
friends.
And come on, hang out in the field. We usually open the gates an hour before the music starts. We're on Facebook. I'm still trying to figure out Instagram. I'm not a real fan of, because anyone can follow you, and that's sort of frightening to me. But yeah, we're out there, and we're linking up with with you, I Love Seaville, with What's Happening Seaville. There's a Facebook group called The Local that a friend of ours runs, What the Puck, and various other groups on Facebook that we're posting our music events on.
That's fantastic.
I think we got to get John involved in Instagram. I think it'd be great.
Yes.
John is on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hey, you are? Okay, so there you are.
I let him run that aspect of
Okay.
it. I'm not a fan.
As long as one of you is a fan, that's all that counts.
That is.
Exactly. I have great respect for anyone who can run Instagram.
I have
never
respect
forget.
for anybody who's a fan of anything.
That's true.
I don't run
I'll
anything.
never forget when Business Wise first got on Facebook for the business. I was so proud of myself. Went to visit our cousin in New York. I said, Amanda, guess what? I'm on Facebook now. And she goes, Alex, only old people are on Facebook. Everyone's on Instagram. Young people are on Instagram now. And I'm like, why? Why? So I have great respect. There's a lot of work that goes into the social media part.
There is.
But it has great reach.
Yeah.
Great
It
reach
does.
as well, as we see here.
Absolutely.
So before I let you both go, people want to learn more. Where can people find you? Where can people get connected, learn about, we listed some events that are upcoming. Where can people get the times and the dates?
On our Facebook page, which is Luna Azul Farms, but we also have a website, lunaazul-farms.com.
Farms.
And that webpage will list all of our events. It tells a little bit about us, our rules, how to get to us, and then the descriptions of the bands and the times.
Fantastic. And I will go ahead and I will put the website into the feed on the I Love Seaville group right
Great.
here, so that people can literally just click that link and head on out to Luna Azul Farms.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is fantastic. No, there's a lot going on. There's some great looking events. I have to I have to see. I don't know if we could. I'm going to try to make that Diamond Heist.
Yeah,
that's
The
so
Neil
much fun.
Diamond
That's gotta be
one
good, yeah.
sounds
I love Neil Diamond.
absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan.
I'm trying to
so-
talk Kirby into coming to that one and to the Taters so he can bring those bands to Fridays After 5. I think they bring in a great crowd.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is amazing. So, can't thank you both enough for
Absolutely.
coming
It's
on.
been a
This
lot of
has
fun,
been
yeah.
a lot
Thank
of
you so
fun.
much for having us.
Yes.
No, really appreciate
Enjoyed
what you're doing, and we look forward to having you back and learn as you have more events and as you can tell us about upcoming things.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so
Music
much.
is fun. It's great. Music is such an important part of life.
It
So
is.
It's good.
It is.
And
It
the
is.
outdoors too. Right? This is
Absolutely.
why we're here.
Absolutely. So thank you both so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right. So as we rotate out here, yep, you can just go ahead and rotate, and then I always say guests are free to watch, but I know you both are nice and busy.
Yes,
So appreciate you coming on, and just always love
Thank you,
having
John.
on
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah.
great guests that just you can sense the passion that they
Yeah,
love what they
yeah.
do.
Well, it's like, we love music, right? And I'm in particular to a lot of different types of music. So something like that, like I said, brings back memories of just being able to go outdoors and listen to something. And it's, sometimes it's even more enjoyable because you relax, you're enjoying the scenery, you're enjoying the outdoors, and then you're also listening to good music. That's great. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
it
great
is.
venue. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So from one topic, I know we got a couple other things we want to discuss.
True.
Today,
true.
in terms of entrepreneurship, did want to talk a little bit about
Conference
quickly
tomorrow?
about the conference tomorrow. So the Amplify Your Voice conference is going to be tomorrow. So it's September 9th, Friday, September 9th, tomorrow, and it's going to be from, I believe, 1 p.m. to 4
4
p.m.
p.m.
It's an amazing conference that they're putting together with a lot of Hispanic real estate professionals. So it's called Amplify Your Voice. Basically, there's going to be some excellent speakers that are coming up. So Denora Chacon from NAREP, Northern Virginia. So it's like a real estate
Okay.
professional
Yep.
association. Big keynote speaker, of course, is going to be Ernie G, empowerment comedian. So he's going to talk a little bit about, I think he's going to mostly empower us and give us some highlight, give us some enjoyment, really spice up the conference.
He's
Conference, of
going to
course,
have some jokes, I suspect.
I would-
and
I would
so
imagine-
therefore
I
make
would
us laugh,
imagine
which is
there's
good.
some jokes.
Laughter is also
right?
good.
I mean, the conference will definitely be spiced up by some food from South and Central.
Oh,
from
wow,
Chef
okay.
Calvino at South and Central is going to be there. Of course, some amazing communities coming together. You've got, obviously, Emergent Financial Services. We're happy to
Right.
be a sponsor. Storyhouse Real Estate, University of Virginia Community Credit Union, our friend Ricardo Duran.
That's right.
Camp Verdette, of course, CAR, the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors. Going to be there, Ronald Flores, Realtor, Craddock Serious Insurance, our friends Miguel.
Oh,
and
Miguel.
Chick.
That's right, Miguel and
Going to
Chick
be
are-
there, buyandSellSeville.com, ERA Real Estate. So just a lot of amazing people that you can meet and connect with
That's right.
at this conference. So
And,
it's not
and I
just
think that's
Hispanic
part of
real
it. I think
estate
that's part of it.
professionals.
It's, one, you learn, you meet a lot of, people that are really focused on, in particular, the real estate market and everything that has to do with real estate. And it's a great networking event, really, in reality.
Absolutely.
It's a networking event where you can enjoy yourself, listen to a comedian, and hopefully have some fun laughter, have some good food, and meet good people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just so a huge opportunity. Registration is still open. You can register at it's at eventbrite.com. You can find it on Facebook. Also Google it. I mean, if you Google Amplify Your Voice Conference 2022, it's like the first non-ad that pops up. I mean, it's the second thing on the page. Right at eventbrite.com, you can register. This is a huge opportunity if you are a Latino professional, great way to mingle and meet other Hispanic real estate professionals. And even if you're not a Hispanic real estate person, this is an opportunity to connect with Latinos.
Exactly.
To connect
Exactly.
with other real estate investors that want to help grow home ownership in the Latino community, but also the way that we serve each
Right.
other
Right.
in the community. So it's a great opportunity. It's going to be at the Hillsdale Conference Center. So not difficult to find on 550 Hillsdale Drive. You type it in your little
pretty
Google
easy, yeah.
Maps, very easy to find. And like I said, a lot of great people are going to be there. And you can register at eventbrite.com. Key thing is type in Amplify Your Voice Conference 2022. You can find it on Facebook as well. Just great people, that you can meet at this event. So you do not want to miss it. You know, there are still some seats. There's limited seating, so you can register now, but don't wait too long because it's going to go until it's sold out. So there's at 1 p.m. tomorrow. There's going to be some great food, so it's a huge opportunity that we really want to encourage people to check out.
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
We'll be there for sure.
No, we'll definitely be there.
We'll definitely be
and
there.
I think it's also a learning experience. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about what's going on in real estate today, right? I mean, we've seen real estate just explode over the last few years, and now with interest rates having risen dramatically over the last 8 months or so, you sit there and go, where are we? Where are we going? What are the challenges for the real estate market? And so I think we'll learn a lot.
Exactly. Agree completely. So couldn't agree more. Just a couple thank yous here. Thank you also, Jonas Smith, for watching the show this morning. A great friend of the program,
Absolutely.
Of course. So we really appreciate that you watched it this morning. Nick will put in, I'm sure he will put into our chat here the link for Amplify Your Voice, and we'll basically get that on the feed for people to click and check out.
Don't wait too long.
No, don't wait too long. Don't wait too long, because you never know when it will run out. So that's a lot going on. Elizabeth Erpy, thanks for watching the show this morning.
Okay,
Always appreciate our dedicated fans on the show. And so, sort of leading into that, because I know one of the things I'm sure will be talked about at the conference is just real estate, interest rates, a lot going on that area, mostly because I know there's a lot of, I was talking with some people last night on some great professionals here on this topic, and there's so many different headwinds, tailwinds, because you have a little bit of a slowdown in terms of buyers looking at this point, which puts sort of downward pressure on mortgage rates. But then you've got the Federal Reserve, which is not really backing down on their mission to squash inflation via hiking interest rates.
It's an interesting phenomenon what we're seeing in the marketplace, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the article that I read, only because it's somewhat humorous. But you sit here and the Fed essentially has said we're going to fight inflation until we feel it's under control, right? Which basically means that they're going to continue to focus on raising interest rates and also reducing the balance sheet, which means that they're going to so they can do it two ways, right? In other words, the way to raise rates, either they raise short-term rates, the federal funds rate, or they put pressure in the market, right? And remember, they have almost an $8 trillion portfolio that they've been buying since literally 2009, right?
Exactly.
And so they begin to sell that, right? So when you sell that, you are putting pressure in the market because now you are dumping bonds into the marketplace. Who's going to absorb those bonds, right? And so if the appetite for bonds isn't as good as one would expect, rates begin to go up, right? So those are the two ways that they're going to, in my view, begin to raise rates. But what's been interesting is that you look at what's happened really over the last 4 or 5 weeks. We had a situation where short-term rates continue to rise, but longer-term rates have pretty much stood still, and in some cases dropped. Because if you look at mortgage rates, they've actually dropped a little since, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So you sit there and go, that's kind of an interesting phenomenon in the sense that you hear the Fed, they want to fight inflation. We know inflation's still out there. And so they're raising short-term rates, but at the same time, the market's sitting there going, yes, inflation's still out there. However, we've seen oil prices drop, right? And so the question is, are oil prices dropping because of something that's happening market-wise? In other words, have we found oil somewhere, or is it because the demand for oil has dropped, right? Which is what I know you and I believe.
Exactly.
And so you have that part of the market saying, well, I don't think inflation is going to be at 9% anymore. So if it's not at 9%, then I'm going to not have as much trepidation about buying longer-term bonds, right? And so rates begin to come down, which impact
lower rates on long-term bonds usually portend a more negative outlook from the economic picture standpoint. In other words, that's the market telling you, yes, inflation may be at what is it now?
Well, it's between 6 and 9,
between
right?
6 and 9%, yeah.
It depends on what's going to come
Inflation
out.
may be between 6 and 9%, but we are looking ahead and we are not seeing strong demand.
Right.
We are seeing the unemployment rate finally tick up,
Yeah.
right? Because not necessarily, in other words, there's already been lower labor force participation, which has been kind of masking the
unemployment rate.
Well, it's been kind of masking more and more weakness in the labor market. And of course, once now some of those people that weren't looking try to get work again, the unemployment rate finally ticks up.
Yeah.
Because it's the dynamics of how that rate works. So that now the headline number is now beginning to reflect some of the weakness in the labor market that I think some of us who looked at the deeper numbers were seeing in the past several months. So, of course, the market on the long-term rates is saying, well, things don't look so rosy. But of course, the short-term rates being more impacted by the actions of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is like, we gotta go jack these rates up because this is the only way they see to squash inflation.
Interesting enough, they said that they're not as concerned about impacting the economy. Obviously, they're more interested in reducing inflation and impact the economy. So
3 weeks ago now, Powell basically said, we are prepared to cause economic pain.
Yeah.
In order to squash inflation.
Yeah.
I mean, the market tanked that day, but he basically said, we are prepared to cause economic pain in order to reduce inflation by raising interest rates.
Because in the end, I mean, large inflation numbers are economic pain to everybody in the country, right? So it's one way or the other, and if that lasts a lot longer, the economic pain is going to probably be worse than the short-term impact. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's almost basically saying, something very bad is going to happen unless we cause some very deep short-term pain in the labor market, essentially. Because that's really where the pain he's talking about, right? In other words, we know the negative impact of inflation over the long term, right? Because your savings dry up. You can't afford things. The impact is felt every day by families. The pain he's talking about is we're willing to have some people lose their jobs too. So let's face it, a decrease in demand and negative GDP, what he's saying when he's saying we're willing to cause some short-term pain is we're willing to see some job losses in exchange for getting rid of this enormous ever-present tax on people's savings and on people's ability to afford the cost of living.
Yeah. So I just to get back, so I read this article and I thought it was interesting because he said he's never been in a situation where this is an economist in one of the firms, and he says, all the people he talks to, he says he's never been in a situation where the opinions of people are completely opposite. In other words, and he says it's the difference between an Uber and a New York taxi, right? And he says, when you're in New York, and he says you see a taxi with the windows open, he says basically there are very few reasons to get into that taxi if the window's open. There's a lot of reasons not to get into that taxi if the windows are open. I mean, obviously, talking about in the summer, right? Yep. And we all know what those reasons may be, right? So he says it's incredible how there are people saying, no, things are just going fantastic. The economy's doing great. Everything is going as one would have expected, right? And then there's others, which is, I guess, the New York taxi event, right? And would say, no, I mean, we're basically in a recession. Things are not going well. Inflation's out of hand, right? Gas prices are still extremely high, which means it impacts every single consumer out there, every single business out there. And so, and you look at globally, I mean, you look at Europe, they're in more dire straits than we are. I mean, Legrand herself said, she's got to fight inflation until it calms down, right? And but even from an energy point of view, they're in a much more difficult state than we are here in this country, right? Exactly. So there's just so much going on globally that impacts what happens to economies, that the issues in every country is really impacting how the whole world is connected to each other. And I think that's just going to continue for a period of time. And so we're going to see our economy suffer for that also,
Absolutely.
So I mean that's my opinion again.
And you can see the uncertainty even in the GDP Now. I don't know if you've noticed the Atlanta Fed GDP Now forecast. That thing is
Oh, it's all over the map.
over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, a week ago, it was looking at 2.5, and then it just plummeted over. This is like a real-time estimate of what they think the third quarter will look like. In other words, it's not an official number. This is sort of trying to project what it will be. The projection went from 2.5 to 1.5 in sort of like a whole 1% shaved off GDP estimate in like a week.
Yeah.
Maybe even less. I think it's like from August 30th, even less than a week. So there's just so, as I said, there's just so much uncertainty.
No, there is.
Of what we are looking at.
And again, the consumer, right, drives the economy in this country. Mm-hmm. And when you continue to put pressure on the consumer in the areas of, food, clothing, energy prices, it's going to impact them. Sooner or later, they have to say, I can no longer have, my discretionary spending is gone. I can no longer do some of the things that I wanted to do or buy, because I need to be able to put food on the table. I need to be able to heat my home, right? Mm-hmm. And so the budget shifts towards the right, and people say my discretionary spending has to drop precipitously, and therefore you're seeing that, and so you're going to see that happen much more as opposed to be a consistent, good working economy. I just think people's perspective is, if you think things are not going to be looking good, then let's face it, we're not too far away from Christmas. So if you're thinking about Christmas, you're saying, I can no longer spend this money today and next month and the following month because I know Christmas is coming, and that's it. That's a time when consumers like to spend a little bit more.
Yeah, and in this environment, inflation environment that changes behavior, you have no choice. You need to hold back what you can now in order to be able to even approach what you would like to have originally spent on gifts and things in the past.
Exactly, yeah. But I thought, the other thing I thought was interesting, I have been doing some kind of homework on, the different markets out there in the sense of, we always talk about that not every single market goes up, not every single market goes down. Mm-hmm. And I also had to run some numbers because one of the things we like to do is we take a look at, people's portfolios and kind of see what kind of risk level they are. And one of the things we do is we run it against what happened during, 2008, what if the market crashes, so, Russian fiasco. So we run it we run scenarios that take a look at what that portfolio exactly would have looked like under that stress, just to get a feel for the risk, right? And what's been more incredible than ever, and obviously we know exactly why, is that if you look at the returns of portfolios today, they're much worse than what those models would have expected. And the only reason is that in every single one of those situations, when the markets were crashing, there's one thing that was always going up: bonds, because interest rates kept going down. Every time something happened, rates were going down.
Yeah, remember when just for the audience, when interest rates go down, the price of bonds goes up. There's an inverse mathematical relationship. Right. So, pretty much every single scenario of your great financial crisis, your Russian crisis from the 90s, you have interest rates going down, meaning that even though the stock market is crashing, once you have bonds in your portfolio, your bond position actually goes up, kind of solidifies.
And it mitigated the whole portfolio, right?
And this is the one time.
And this is one time where you sit there and you realize that the bond market, if you think the market as a whole, from 0 to 30-year bonds, right, in the U.S., the market's down about 8%, right? That's a huge impact. You're sitting here and saying, the stock market's down about 17, 18, 25, depending what sector of the market you're in, right? But when you have bonds down 8%, and that's supposed to be your anchor,
that's supposed to be your safety.
Yeah, your safety. It hurts. It hurts dramatically. Now, again, the beauty about bonds is that if you buy a bond, you hold to maturity, you're going to get that return, right? That loss, eventually will come back, right?
Mathematically, it adjusts.
It adjusts because everything you buy, just simplistic, you buy a bond at 100, at a particular rate, you get paid that rate. Obviously, if rates begin to go up and down, that price may adjust up or down, but when bond matures, if it's a 10-year bond, at the end of 10 years, you get your $100 back. So mathematically, even
Sooner
if that
or later,
bond
the price goes back to
goes
100.
low or higher, it has to come back to 100, right? So, so it's been interesting, but in addition, when I look deeper and deeper, there are sectors of the market that have done very well, and one sector which I was a little surprised was, for example, clean energy stocks in general. They have a return of about 6% this year, positive return. I mean, that's pretty impressive. This is why we always talk about diversifying your portfolio into different sectors, because you just never know what's. Obviously energy sector's done extremely well, that goes without doubt, because we went energy prices from from the teens all the way to hundreds and now down back to the 80s again. But I mean, when you look at the market as a whole, right, there are sectors that have done well. So again, when you diversify, again, you are participating in sectors that may do well for whatever reason, and that's what's key, and that's what's important. Make sure that portfolio is well diversified. It matches your particular goals, what risk you're willing to take, what risks you need to take to achieve your particular goals, and then most of the time you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
But
that's always
the key. It's been a stressful year for many people, and again, those that are the most stressed is because they were in one little pocket of the market, and that pocket has just been crushed, and then sitting there saying, what do I do now, right? And so that's the difficult part.
Exactly. And just sort of give people an idea of why you can't try to time the markets or uncertainty, how it works. Literally, the headline is Fed's Powell speech for today, for this morning.
Yeah,
Fed's Powell speech, stocks fall, right? Stocks are up. So in other words, they moved from down to up so quickly that even the headlines, the live update headlines cannot update fast enough. Because I'm reading the headline saying Fed's Powell speech, stocks fall. And stocks did fall, but now they're up. Yeah. Now they're green.
Because it's like everything. It's like when economic numbers come out, right? The impact an economic number comes out, whatever it may be, right? Boom, the market reacts immediately, right? Then they start doing the research. They start looking deep into the numbers. Say, wait a minute, this part is good, that part's not so good, whatever. And before you know, it's like stock market says, wait a minute, the market not bad. Wait a minute, let me go back. So that happens all the time. And again, that's why you can't be myopic when you're looking at the stock market. You can't look at it on a daily basis. And part of it, I know that there's so many people that have their portfolio on their phone and they're constantly looking at it up and down, up and down. It's just, it goes agita. That's all it does. It does nothing to your portfolio by looking at it.
Exactly. A couple shout outs. Thank you, Candice Vanderlyn, for watching this morning. Lynn Snyder watching. Rebecca watching this morning. We did get our international. You're Carabello Vincenzo from Italy. Thank you so much for watching this morning. Definitely appreciate it. All the way from Palermo watching this morning. So definitely appreciate all the viewers. No, it's just it just goes to reinforce what we talk about all the time, right? That the key thing is to look at your situation and the level of risk that's appropriate for you. You cannot try to pick out. Nobody has a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody can pick out automatic winners or just be able to say, yeah, in year 2022, this is going to be the winner, and I can put all my money into this, and it's gonna be great. Or to say 2023 is gonna be a terrible year, I'm pulling all my money out of the stock market. You just cannot predict these things. So the key that you have to always keep focused on is, am I diversified? And does my portfolio reflect the level of risk that's appropriate for me? And it's going to change. So in other words, you need to, this is why people hire professionals, but you need to monitor it because it's going to change. You can set up a portfolio that's appropriately risked for you. Let's say you sat there to make it simple and said, the right risk for me is 60% stocks, 40% bonds. You may be sitting here now, and if you go to your portfolio, you might be sitting there saying it and see that it's 50-50 because stocks have, even though bonds are down, stocks are down even more.
Right.
So you need to be able to look at that and say, I need to balance. I need to sell some bonds and buy some stocks. And you would sit there and say, like your gut would be like, why on earth would you do that now? Stocks are down way more than bonds. Why would I buy more stocks now? Why would I sell bonds than buy stocks? Well, because the appropriate thing is to say, what is the most appropriate level of risk for me now? And so you need to monitor that without making rash decisions and saying, oh, stocks look really bad right now, I'm going to sell all my stocks. Because for all we know, if we're sitting here saying things are uncertain, demand is down, GDP estimate is plummeting, and stocks go up in the second half.
You never know. You never know. Exactly.
I said, I'm to be sitting here reading a headline that says Fed's powell speech, stocks fall, and the Dow Jones is up 0.6%. Right? You just never know what's going to happen.
And the other thing about risk that you were talking about, obviously, when you're in your 20s and 30s, the risk level of your portfolio is much more aggressive because you have 40 years. If you're thinking of retirement, if you're thinking obviously to buy a house or buy a boat or children's education, obviously it's a different strategy for those particular portfolios. But if you're thinking of retirement, you got 40 years. So of course you want to be an aggressive portfolio. But as you age, that aggressiveness has to be reduced. And if you don't do that, you find sometimes yourself in a situation where you get into your 60s, the market crashes, and you go, oops, I thought I had this amount of money and I could retire, but I no longer have it because what I need to tap into is much less than what I thought, right? So again, it's important to keep monitoring that, whether it be on a, every 6 months, every quarter, or, when markets change dramatically. Is what I was told all our clients. It's not a situation where we monitor it on a daily basis. It's a situation where we monitor it depending on the circumstances. When the markets are very active, we're constantly looking at it to see, are there any adjustments that make any sense at this point in time? Because it is those adjustments that make a portfolio grow, because as you mentioned, you're being forced, without thinking about it, to sell something that's done better than something else. So you're selling something high, you're buying something low, and over time that helps dramatically, right?
Exactly.
So that's what's important. And to do it without putting, a subjective thought into it. It's like, oh, do I really want, like you said, I had a friend of mine, God bless him, he passed away years ago, but his name was Nolan, and he always told me, people let stocks ride. When they're going up, they let it ride. When they're going down, they do the same thing. It's like, I can't sell it now. It's already down 25%. I can't. But that's not the point. The point is, you have to do it. That's why you hire sometimes people, because you can't fall in love with something. You have to be objective and say, what's the best decision overall? And that's the decision you have to undertake. And if it means taking a loss on a particular stock or sector because something else is better, you do it.
Exactly. You need to be forward-looking, not backward-looking.
Exactly. We used to do that in bonds all the time. It was so hard to explain to clients that you took a loss on a particular bond and you bought another one. And I would have to show mathematically that if you hold both to maturity, you did better off. You're taking a loss, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to make more money in the long run. It's just taking a loss that some people say, why would I want to take a loss? Because you're going to make more money.
You can do something better out there. Exactly. No, it's great advice, and definitely something for people to make sure you're thinking about, even in this environment that we're looking, especially with so many, like I said, so many different winds coming from so many different directions. It's not an easy time to be able to guess what's going to happen.
That's right. Yeah.
So that would be our 2
cents worth.
Our 2 cents worth. Our 2 cents worth. 1 cent there.
That's right.
1 cent
exactly.
here. Sprinkle some grains of salt on this table, and we're all good all set. You can take what we just said. Absolutely. But great being here with you today. Really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic show. Really appreciated John and Susan coming on, talking about
Luna Azul. That really is a beautiful name. Yeah.
Blue Moon. For those we didn't directly translate it. Blue Moon.
I was thinking that song.
Oh, the song I haven't heard.
Blue Moon. Yes, you heard it. Blue Moon.
Maybe I've heard it. I just didn't know.
I can't sing so. But the other thing about Azul that I love is the tequila, right?
The tequila Azul. That's what you're thinking.
That's what I was thinking. Tequila Azul. I said, wow, wait a minute.
Azul. I see Judah raising. Judah's like, oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. That's good. 2 thumbs up from the producer here. I guess we know what everybody was thinking then.
That's right.
When we heard Azul. So definitely loved having them on. Next week we've got a couple other great local businesses. We've got Westwind Flowers is going to be joining us, as well as First Choice, Christian Jeffrey from First Choice Home Maintenance is going to be joining us. So 2 more great guests coming on next week. Like I said, do not miss tomorrow's Amplify Your Voice conference, a great way to connect with very burgeoning Latino community. For all we talked about the economy, the Latino community, especially in Charlottesville, is going to be one of the ways we get out of
Exactly.
the ruts we're in. That's a growing community of entrepreneurs starting great businesses. So really, if you want to connect, first off, if you are Latino, want to connect with other Latino professionals, great opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
But if you're not and just want to meet and network with Hispanic professionals, Hispanic real estate agents,
it's a great opportunity.
Huge way to do that.
Yeah.
An amazing way to do that. So, and an easy and delicious way to do it with some food from South and Central. So be sure to join us there tomorrow. We're going to be there. It's 1 o'clock. You can register on Eventbrite. We've got in fact, you can see the flyer on your feed right now if you're watching the show this morning, and very easy to find. Literally, Amplify Your Voice Conference 2022 in Google. Poof, boom. Right there. Nick has graciously put the Facebook event, onto all the feeds, so thank you, Nick Laserpi, for that. So you can literally click that link, at Facebook link, and go straight to the event where you can register for tomorrow. So
he's working hard, that Nicholas.
He is. He's on top of He's on top of this. Well, Elizabeth Erby, his wife, is watching the show this morning, so he's got to be on top of it. He's got to show that he's active on the page. He's
a mover and a shaker.
Exactly. Otherwise, she'll say, "What's he doing this morning? I worked hard. What's he doing?" So thanks, Nick, for putting that up there. And look forward to seeing all of you there, all our audience there tomorrow. I would encourage you to come. Always love being here on the I Love Seville Network set. Always
Same here.
appreciate partnering with our good friends at GBS Financial Services, at Craddock Sirius Insurance, from Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash, from Castle Hill Cider, from the gym, Seville, our good friends at the gym. Oh, actually, a shout out. We just, our viewer Elizabeth Erby, she just got back from Aqua Seville, and she is singing their praises. She's applauding their great work. So literally, terrific. Just this morning, she was at Aqua Seville and saying what an amazing job they do. So be sure to check out, especially, I know I've got some pollen showing up on cars today, and I don't know if it's I don't know what it is. Some that must be in
fall pollen. Whatever.
Fall. Well, I know it's ragweed
season.
They do
ragweed season.
Ragweed season. So there's something on the back of my car, so if you've got that on your car as well, be sure to head out to Aqua Seville Hand Car Wash. They will do a great job for you. Of course, the Gym Seville, and we are always presented by Emergent Financial Services. Just love partnering with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Thank you all so much for watching us this morning. Really appreciate all the great comments from all our viewers this morning. Really great questions, of course. Kevin Hindens, thanks for your question and your comments. Just always appreciate the audience engagement. Be sure to send us any other entrepreneurs that you would love to have for us to feature on the show. You know that's exactly what we're here for. Just really appreciate you all, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Remember to like and share.
Remember to like and share the show.
I have to say that once.
You're good at that.
I've been told you got to say it once at least.
Be sure to like and share. We will see you next Thursday, but until that time, as we always say on the show, hasta mañana. Like and share. I like it.